I
Me
bet.
and the Home Depot were tight. Yeah. So
Going there every other weekend.
yeah, I went in there and picked up an online order for some trim for a tile job I'm working on, and I think I go there too much because the lady gave me like a thank you card with a lifesaver on it, and I was like, wow, I was like, this is crazy, I come
Yeah.
here too much. You're giving me candy and thank you cards. But it was a really nice
That
experience.
is nice. Yeah.
And then I went back and I saw her and I avoided her because I was like, I don't want to talk to her again. It was a good time. It was a really nice interaction.
Don't
I'm
want to
like,
spoil it.
can't follow it up. That's my life. That's me in a nutshell. I have like such great like introductory interactions with people, and I'm like, yeah, I can't follow that up,
It's
and
all
it's not
downhill
that I
from here.
just think that. It's that like I've lived this life. I know this is only going to be awkward and not fun at all ever again. So, as a
That's
favor to
hilarious.
you, I'll buy my own candy.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty Domination. How you doing over there, Daniel?
My friend, I'm doing great, Christian. I got to tell you, um, got the combine coming up, dude. Got
Yeah,
the combine, so all
it's
the
fun stuff.
intangibles are starting to get tangible, man. I don't think people use the word tangible enough.
They don't. They don't. We're
Yeah.
about to put out some tangible stuff on
Yes,
social
sir.
media when we put out the bracket this week. We did the seating and everything, and we're starting on the episodes. I believe next week, unless I haven't mistaken, we're rolling into the bracket. No?
I don't think so, but
Okay. I
everything's
am mistaken.
flexible. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Well, whatever. We're getting into it soon, but we're releasing it. Oh, yeah, because we're going to do a combine review. Duh, idiot. So after the combine review, we're going to
It's
do
all
something.
flexible.
But this week, we're going to be putting out the bracket. So please check it out. Check it out on social media. Download it. Try to
Yeah,
fill it
fill it
out.
out.
See how you see if you line up with us. Be a lot of fun. But yeah, with the combine coming up, that's going to start heating up. We're really going to start forming our true opinions about these guys with all the information we're given. So it's an exciting time. I think Saturday is a really big deal, big day for fantasy for combine watchers. So check it out on Saturday. We're
Yeah.
not sponsored by the NFL, but you should
But
still
we
check it out.
easily could be. I
We could
mean,
be. Yeah.
they sponsor people, damn it. We got to get Nike and
Gotcha.
then
It's like
we're
a
going to get the
leapfrog.
NFL.
Gotcha. All right.
Start small.
Well, if you've been with us the past few weeks, you know the drill. We're just doing some profiles leading up to our rookie bracket. So we're just going to kind of hit that right like we did last week, rolling into this week. So Dan, who you got? Who we looking at?
Dude, I'm starting out with Audric Estimé.
Okay.
Yeah, running back out of Notre Dame. And just a cool name to say, Audric Estimé. Um, this guy, all right, so full disclosure, this week I wanted to watch the film raw without looking at any stats or anything and just like get just go that route. And that's what I typically do, but I really leaned into the blind kind of film watching this week. And I started out with the Ohio State game for him,
Gotcha.
and I got to tell you, it was the fourth game of the year, and it was not his best game. And so I'm watching this guy play, and he's getting, stopped at the line several times. But he's playing really well downfield. But he's a big guy, but he's almost playing like a small guy, getting stopped at the line, squarely in the open field. I felt weird. I didn't know what to do, so I moved on to another game. I went to the third game of the year, and it was against Central Michigan. A little bit smaller school, a little bit lesser known defensive powerhouse than the Buckeyes, and it's all Studsville, man. And the guy's making great cuts and pure power, big numbers. He put up 176 yards on 20 carries in that game, and it was outrageous. It was
Mhm.
beautiful. And so, anyway, I'm like, I don't know what to think about this guy at all.
It's
So
tough.
I finally get into the grades and the stats, and I'm like, they were off the charts. So I had to keep watching film, and it started what I was looking at. I shouldn't have started with that Ohio State game. It kind of gave the guy a bad rap. But as I started to watch more, I started to notice, his traits are very well defined. He's got like a driving power that's like
Mhm.
a slow and deliberate sort of running style that I'm saying is like high torque, low speed kind of situation as he runs through the line of scrimmage. And then the pace that he takes allows him to adjust well for blocking, and I'd say that's probably my favorite trait of his is like his vision and his ability to make cuts behind the line of scrimmage, and not like the fastest way, but in a way that carries his momentum. You see so many times that running back makes an adjustment behind the line and they stop, but that's not really his game. He is always moving forward, and it's like a slow, grinding, powerful approach
Mhm.
through that first level. And then he gets to the open field, and he becomes kind of wildly athletic, really, really strong for his size. He's 6'1", 215, according to the college sports reference, but he's 5'11", 227 on PFF. So this is like very, very thankful for the combine for helping
Mhm.
us line the stuff out this weekend. But I think he's really athletic for his size. He's like, jumping over people
Yeah.
and making cuts and sliding around defenders in ways that open him up for long gains, which is like one of the most interesting things as far as like pure stats go. He had 22 runs of over 15 yards, which was fifth amongst running backs this past year. So he
Oh.
really does have the ability to open things up once he gets going. I don't think he's going to destroy the 40, but he does have the speed to make house calls.
Mhm.
But it's really his power, man, for him to be able to get through like goal line attempts really well. And then the vision really helps him get to the second level. I think he's got a really good skill set to be like a three down back. And just going through like the metrics, a lot of PFF stuff, it kind of points to that being his situation. He's 20 years old, right? And he had 4.27 yards after contact, which was 13th, and 64 missed tackles force, which
Mm.
was 17th, 6.4 yards per attempt, that was 19th, and there's 12th in rushing, and scored 18 touchdowns. Only two guys scored more than that on the ground. And it's just like not really an ace in any particular style, but like a competitor in all facets of the game that really impressed me. And I mentioned his goal line ability. Of his 18 touchdowns, he had 12 of them inside the 10-yard line, and half of them were like 5 or less yards. So he really is a like true goal line type back. Um, and and I think I summed it up, pretty well. It's just like the short yardage power, the open field agility, the runaway speed. He actually blocks really well. Only had a single fumble this past year, and believe it or not, he's underutilized in the passing game. He had 22 catches this last year, but he had 22 targets. And the previous year, he had 7 catches and 7 targets. So he actually has like 100% catch rate for his entire college career.
Oh,
It's
wow.
just a lower kind of passing. Um, and one thing I really liked is that he had a really nice sophomore year too. All the efficiency numbers were pretty comparable. Just the workload was increased. He had 11 touchdowns as a sophomore. So I think he's a really well-rounded back. I'm really heating up on him. It was just kind
Hmm.
of funny that first game put a bad taste in my mouth, and then I had to like it's weird to have to overcome that and come around on a guy. So I don't know. What did you think about him?
Yeah, I liked him. I started putting a weight range just because it's easier. So 215 to 227 is kind of where we're at. I think he leans more towards that 227 spot. To be honest, I think he just looks
Still a lot
big
of
and
upper body
powerful.
mass.
Yeah, he's just absolutely shredded too. Yeah, and just a big, powerful, strong guy, like you're saying, but he's got a lot of moves for a big guy too. Like you're saying,
Mhm.
64 missed tackles forced. And when he gets out in the open field, he can definitely make you miss. Um, and you're talking about the home run speed. He did like he took a really, really I forget, I think it was like 60 something yards against NC State. And that was a really, really nice display of his power. I'd actually or of his speed. I'd actually kind of I was writing in my notes like, oh, I'm worried about his top end speed as I'm like watching film on him and as he's breaking away this NC State touchdown. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, okay, he can do it. It's against NC State, so we'll see. I'm interested in the combine for this guy, both for the size and then the just like athletic score. Um, I do think he has the traits of a three down back, but I could also see him getting forced into a power committee role where he's like the power guy and the goal line guy, which could help you in fantasy depending on what offense he's on. So it is a guy I like. I don't I maybe not heating up as much on him as you are, from the sound of it, but no, I do like him. He's definitely a target that I would look at in the second round of Dynasty rookie drafts for sure.
Yeah, he's gonna. I mean, if I'm in a position to get him in the mid second, I think he's got the potential.
Yeah,
But but yeah, it's definitely not a locked in guy, but I don't know, something about the like the dichotomy of the power in the open
mm,
field is just like I
it was
could see
fun.
something, but yeah, what up?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I can see it for sure. He'll be an interesting one going into the draft. Usually I copy your position. Um,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna do that this week. I want to save my running back for the end
Okay.
here. So I'm gonna move into a guy who's not gonna go in the second round, who is likely to be the number one overall pick of your dynasty rookie draft, especially in a non superflex with Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State. That's who we're going to talk about today. And man, like you talk about your prototypical receivers and your prototypical like, oh, this is the highlights you want to watch, and that's pretty much just it for Marvin Harrison Jr. 1,200 yards last season, 14 touchdowns, 6'3" between like 202, 205. So we're pretty solid on where he's at. And he just has all the traits, great size, obviously, speed, acceleration, route running, hands, leaping ability. It's just all there. And my thing I think that he has the best of is the body control and the concentration is awesome. Absolutely incredible to me. Even in one of his lowest grades of the season, which what I like to do, Dan, for how you were talking about how you watch film, I'll pull up the PFF grade, the like uh weekly one, and I'll
Hmm.
watch the two highest graded and the two lowest graded, and then basically pick a couple other ones. But I always start with highest graded and then go, so I don't
Oh,
do
smart. Yeah, don't
exactly
psych
that.
yourself out.
But so one of his lowest graded games was against Notre Dame, and he still just had this absolutely ridiculous falling backwards catch that went for like 30 yards. He just always seems to know exactly when to make the move for the ball in terms of like the late hands, when to jump, when to cut, like when to make that final movement to just be open enough and get his hands on the ball. He's super physical. He can bully you. He can, if you're little and you're trying to defend him, he can absolutely bully you away. He can block. I don't know that he blocks with all the effort all the time, but
No.
when he does, he can do it. Um, that might be a little presumptuous of me, but it is what it is, speaking from what I saw. 60% contested catch rate last year, and it was 40% the year before that. So you're talking like pretty consistently great at the catch. And you can just play him wherever you want all over the field. I mean, he spent 20% of his time in the slot, which isn't um, an incredible amount of time in the slot, but for a guy that size, that fast, with that ability, you can make him a matchup nightmare in the NFL, lining him up down there. I think he just absolutely does have true number one potential. He's like the blue chip talent of this draft for sure, or one of them. And like
What-
it's it's nice when you hear how good somebody's going to be, and then you turn on the film and you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, he's pretty fucking good."
That's a yeah, that's an understatement right there. Oh geez. Man, what do you want? Like what do you want us to
E-
say about Marvin
Exactly.
Harrison? I Brock Bowers coming up, so I can relate, man. It's tough when it's
Pretty similar when there's not
bulletproof
a lot of
prospect.
weakness, when I'm talking about the guy not blocking well all the time, I'm scrapping at stuff to talk about negative wise.
Well, I think it's funny. I watched, I've seen quite a bit. Watched a lot of Ohio State in my days, and yeah, it's 8% drop rate, but 100% gold. Uh, it just kind of cracks me up because some of those drops and like he had 30 contested targets and only pulled 13 of them down. Um, like it feels like some of those he was just like, eh, nah, I'll just catch the next one. You know what I mean? Like he was out there just like it was stupid, you know. It looks like you're watching a guy, like every once in a while the NBA's got a guy that's so good that he just like skips college or whatever. And
Yeah.
it feels like that's what we're watching here.
Hmm.
Like this guy should have just gone straight to the pros
Yeah, big time.
because he's just kind of like waiting for the eligibility because he's miles ahead of everybody else out there. Just the way he
Hmm.
executes his routes, and I mean the ability at the catch point. It's he was just fucking playing with these people, man.
Hmm.
It's gonna be insane to watch the next level. I guess we're like pretty sure he's going to Arizona or something. I mean,
Yeah, it seems that way. Um,
yeah, it's gonna be
I
it's gonna
mean,
be just fine.
it's gonna be fine. He'll be fine wherever he goes. Obviously, a quarterback situation can hurt a receiver at all times, but some are kind of quarterback proof. Maybe they could have
Hmm.
better numbers with a better quarterback, but I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is one of those guys who's going to be quarterback proof,
Yeah,
at least
yeah, I
to a
feel
certain
you.
extent, at least.
No, I agree with you, man. I agree with you all the way. Really, really going to be fun. Like
Oh yeah.
everyone's going to love this guy, or you're going to hate him or whatever. I don't know how people act or
People are
anymore.
weird.
Yeah, behave the way you want to behave. But I, football fans can't be. It's been a long time coming, man. I don't think we've had a guy like this, like not really like this in a long time. So
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
I'm pumped. But um, well, should I get to my next guy?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. You're saying quarterback proof. Think about high end pedigree. I'll just do my Brock Bauer.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So this guy is 6'4", 240. If you don't know, he's out of Georgia. And he does everything right. I'd say, he's fully committed as a blocker, physical as a runner. His route execution for a college tight end is like, Marvin Harrison. No, no, he's really, really impressive, and he's had this production the entire time, and he's got great hands. But there's the things that you don't think about when you think of a tight end. Like he's got a lot of motions and like he runs jet sweeps and stuff like that. And you're thinking like, man, for a tight end to be running an end around or whatever, like he's got to be, he's a hell of an athlete. He's quick. He's all over the place. Um, and he really is. He really is like I don't know. He could have played wide receiver easily. He could have done all kinds of things. He was wildly successful with the ball in his hand, breaking tackles. The way he just can snatch the ball out of the air.
Mhm.
real quick, like it's almost, like we're saying with Marvin Harrison Jr., like he was just kind of not, he's just on a different level. And it
Mhm.
was so clear that whatever he wanted to do was going to happen. It was unstoppable. Even though you saw it coming a mile away, if you're the other team, there's just nothing you could do about it. Um, but yeah, he's quick for his size. Obviously,
Yeah.
shimmies and shakes like a wide receiver, adjusts very well to the ball. And for me, it's not just his like high level athletic abilities and execution, but he just seems to understand like offenses and football in general, and the major role he has to play in the team's success. Like he just knew how to get open and played well. And I feel like he is quarterback proof. I feel like he was kind of running this offense from like the line. Um, and it's kind of silly to say it like that, but just his awareness and his ability to create opportunities, it will enhance any quarterback that he plays with. Like
Mhm.
whoever, whatever team he ends up on, which the mocks are like wild between 6 and 18 or whatever.
Mhm.
But no matter where he goes, it's immediately going to improve that quarterback's chances of success, that team's offensive chances of success.
Big
And
time.
um, and it's awesome, man. So he had two fumbles in 2023, and he missed 3 games with an ankle injury. But those were the only fumbles of his 3-year career.
Mhm.
So I'll take that. Ball security is not a big deal for him. And despite the injury, he still ended up leading the team in receiving. And that's 3 out of 3 years that he did that, including, true freshman all
Mhm.
the way through. And it's not like they've got easy roads to success. They're in the SEC, two-time national champions here. So he's just doing it no matter what. I mentioned the inner rounds and like the motion and stuff. Did you know that Brock Bowers in his college career has 5 rushing touchdowns?
I did
On,
not.
yeah,
Should have, apparently.
no, I don't think anyone knows this. He has 5 rushing touchdowns.
That's
He
wild.
only has 19 carries.
Hmm.
So he's just running a
Pretty
quarter of
good.
his handoffs into the end zone. That's pretty impressive. Um, I think it's awesome. This year, his contested catch rate was 22%, which is like not very impressive, but
Mm.
the over the 3 years, he did 62% and 76%.
Wow.
So he's got that in his skill set, no problem. But it was his best year for missed tackles forced. He got to 18, which was the second most amongst tight ends. And that just speaks to his open field abilities. Really, really impressive stuff. Two-time John Mackey Award winner. Probably would have been 3-time if it weren't for Trey McBride in 2021. So,
Woohoo.
yeah, he's a top 5 graded tight end 3 years running, and just purely unstoppable. I mean, he got there and then just hit the ground running immediately, having success in his freshman year. That was his best year as far as scoring goes. He got to 13 touchdowns, well, 14 if you count the rushing, but then it tapered off to 7 and then 6. So the red zone efficiency has gone down, but he's got a 14 and a half yards per catch over the career of that, and ended up with 2,500 yards over 3 years. So I mean, these are numbers you don't see coming from a tight end, and to do it year after year, different situations in Georgia, like this is another guy that we've just been waiting for him to become draft eligible to see
Yeah.
what he can do at the next level. So
Oh, big time. Yeah. And kind of exactly what I said with Marvin Harrison. You're hearing about this guy all the time, and then it's nice to turn on the tape, and then it's like, oh yeah, okay, I get it. Yep. He's
it's almost
awesome.
boring how like
Yeah.
consistently reliable he was. Like, I want to see something. Like all you're seeing is just 100% success rate. No big deal.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all just the same excellent work every time, and there's not much else you can say about it. Like you said, 3 years of elite production. He's just got the size and speed. I mean, like maybe a little undersized or whatever for an NFL tight end, but they seem to be getting smaller anyway, more quick, more elusive, more route running ability, which his footwork is really, really insane to me, that he's at this level already. in
It's
terms
been
of
working
route
out with
running
Lad
for a tight end.
McConkley, dude.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Been taking lessons from that boy for sure. But he just has like everything you'd need. He kind of honestly he reminded me personally of like watching George Kittle a little bit. Because he's a good blocker too. He's not I don't know that he's George Kittle good at blocking, but like he just does everything. He's all over the field all the time. And when he catches it, it just seems like I don't know. There's always a chance that it's going to be this huge, massive touchdown or play or whatever. I know it's been trapering off, but there's an electricity when he has the ball, and it's really fun to watch. So yeah, I mean, he's going to go somewhere. I think my favorite destination for him is Indianapolis. Um,
Oh,
I think that'd be really fun with him and Anthony Richardson down there. Obviously, that would destroy all of my Jelani Woods stock, but I think for a
live and let
similar
live, man.
reason, I think they want to use an offense that uses a tight end like that, and I think that's a really good fit. But like you're saying, wherever he goes, he's going to be an instant producer in that offense. Well, the tight end position's notorious for slow starts, I guess, but I think he'll be pretty instantly producing. He's just, I don't know, he's just excellent.
Yeah, I mean, tight ends usually get slow starts in college too, but
He
you know,
didn't, he didn't do
no.
that either. Well, we can talk about a guy that did get a little bit of a slow start
Yes,
as a
sir.
tight end
There you
in
go.
college, and then he transferred from BYU to Colorado State, and that's Dallin Holker, tight ends. Pretty pretty small. We were talking about Brock Bowers being small. He's listed at between 225 and 235. So
Yeah.
we're talking about a huge receiver here. But 64 catches for 766 yards and six touchdowns, that's a really good season for a fan or for a college tight end. And he's got these like fun highlight reel catches, just all the time, just making these crazy like catches on the sideline, great concentration up at the ball point, going up and getting the ball and everything. And he's just super fun to watch in terms of that. I think he's just an excellent receiver. Like he probably played a lot of tight end and then just got, or sorry, a lot of wide receiver and then just got a little bigger and ended up moving over to tight end. But he still has this speed of like a low end wide receiver, which makes him a really fast tight end on the field. I think he's great with the ball in his hands after the catch. He's always running through all the like catches in these short routes and then kind of squirming his way through all the tackles all the way to the end zone. Um, it was harder to find tape on him, or at least like where I use Dynasty Nerds. They didn't have him, so I pivoted to YouTube and did some stuff. So I didn't see a lot of his blocking necessarily. He doesn't have that great of a grade from PFF, but I just up front, I didn't see a lot of it, so we'll just leave it where it is. But I think he's an excellent receiving tight end. Like is he big enough to play in the NFL? I think that's a really legitimate concern. I mean, he's listed at 6'5", so he would have the height to do it, but maybe not the weight to kind of be able to be used in the blocking game, go up against some of these bigger linebackers in the NFL. But if he can do that, or if he can put on a little more weight and maintain that speed, like the receiving ability is clear, man. Like this was some fun tape to watch. I was having a blast with this guy. Um, just seems to kind of similar to it's gonna sound I'm not comparing him to Marvin Harrison, but what I said about Marvin Harrison earlier, where he just seems to kind of always know when to go up for the ball and when to kind of make that last move. Holker seems to do that as well. Just as a tight end, so not as crazy as Marvin Harrison Jr. But I don't know, man. I kind of like him. I think he could be like a little sleeper tight end in a tight end draft that's pretty top heavy. You got Brock Powers and Jatavion Sanders, and then it's kind of murky after that. I think there's a chance that he could sneak in here now. Um, he's kind of a one trick pony. I think like he's really got to fit on an offense that uses their tight end as a receiving weapon, and that's pretty much it. That's what they want to do with him. But if he lands somewhere like that, I think it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah. And maybe maybe he'll get recruited to the Rams. You know what I mean?
There
The
you go.
BYU connection can go strong. Um, yeah, I mean, like you were saying, it was fun to watch. Definitely loved him with the ball in his hands. I liked his ability to catch the ball outside of his frame. He had some really, really good catches that were like probably wouldn't have been deemed drops if he hadn't caught him, you know, just
Mm.
really shitty passes that he pulled in. But another thing I noticed is like he kind of lined up everywhere, like all over the field. I watched the full game, every snap on the Boise State game. And so that gave me a lot of looks at like, he's lined up in the backfield and used as a lead blocker for a lot of run plays. And as that, and just because you brought up the blocking and I had some notes on his blocking, he did really well as like a lead blocker, like
Okay.
pulling and lined up in the backfield and like almost like a split back setup. But then kind of his downfield blocking was he wasn't really sure of himself. Like he tried, but kind of, like
Gotcha.
a guy would roll off of him and then kind of make a tackle. But so he's
Hmm.
got some potential. Um, but man, 6 touchdowns with Colorado State, and the touchdowns were wild. Did you see all 6
Hmm.
of these?
Yeah.
So there's like some circus catches, and then he's
Hmm.
got the
Yeah.
fake field goal catch
Yeah.
for a touchdown. And then in that Boise State game, like the last play of the game, they're down 6 points and it's 0-0 on the clock.
The Hail
And he
Mary.
catches
Yeah.
like the Hail Mary that's like
That's
slapped to
batted
him.
down.
And that's a 33-yard catch on an 85-yard performance. So it's just kind of like just some of these things. There's one where it was like a short pass to the wide receiver who then threw a touchdown pass to
Hmm.
Holker. And so that's half of his touchdowns were trick plays. And then the other ones were like crazy kind of one-handed catches and stuff. So I don't know how consistent any of those things really are, the
Yeah, that's
repeatability
fair.
of any of them. But it was a lot of energy, a lot of like excitement, and
Hmm.
I don't know. It was cool. I think he does have some sleeper potential. That 225 is a little slender, but we'll see what he
Yeah,
can do.
that could get him because there's no like he's not transitioning to wide receiver or anything like that. Like so that weight could hurt him. But I mean, like I said, and like Dalton Kincaid's on the smaller side, and we're expecting a pretty big second season from him. So I do think the tight end position is getting smaller on average anyway, and then like even some teams might lean even smaller, whereas some teams kind of go still bigger. But I don't know, man. I think he'll be interesting if he goes somewhere that could be spicy. I don't know, maybe Kansas City takes him late. That'd be fun.
Oh yeah. I don't know, dude.
I guess we just turn into
No
another
gray,
like
baby. No gray.
turn into another Noah Gray there. Well, you want
Yeah,
to hit us
fine.
with
I'll do it.
our another guy?
I'll close out my third guy here. I'm going with Keon Coleman.
Mm,
Okay, everyone. Florida State wide receiver, 6'4", 215. That's a pretty consistent number between platforms.
yeah.
He'll be 21 by the time the season opens. And all right, everyone, this is another one where I started with the film, and and then I'm just gonna tell you what I saw. But I started out with the LSU game, and it wasn't just like a target film, it was like a every snap, every route film. And it was very interesting. So yeah, I hadn't seen the stats or anything. So I thought like obviously this guy's got the great size, prototypical
Hmm.
size for the wide receiver position. I thought he got off the line really well, but he didn't like demand separation in his route running.
Hmm.
But he like still managed to extend plays really well and find like the open spot in the field. And then he's like signals the quarterback. It's kind of a weird deal. So I kept watching more and more film, and it just seemed like the guy was just like making stuff up out there. It was very strange for me to take in, but it was like he has the straight ball, and then the
Mhm.
rest of his routes were just like run straight and meander to where you think the best open space on the field is, and then do a like a wave to your quarterback, and then he'll throw you the ball. And it was so crazy to me that it worked. Like it just worked. It kept
Mhm.
working. Like I guess he has a feel for open, finding the open spots. And I think it wasn't traditional or technical. Like he wasn't using
Yeah.
speed to get open. He wasn't using like route running to burn guys. He was just finding some green space on the field and letting people know that he was available to be thrown to. But it was extremely like respectably consistent. So I guess I can't hold it against the guy.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think there were a few throws to him. Like he could improve his adjustment to the ball. Um, there were several passes where I thought he should have caught the ball. He only had two drops credited to him, but there were
Gotcha.
several where like he could have made the pass. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? So I kind of held that against him as far as like missing that kind of X factor to what is really his game is like size and the ability to use his size to catch the ball, right? But the athleticism was pretty solid. He's like hurdling a few guys and really running away. It's, physical, breaking some tackles. And he's got some really good timing, but not adjustment to the catch. In the Syracuse game, he had like a beautiful one-handed catch. It was like one of those highlight reel style one-handed catches that I'm sure is going on like the recruiting tape for the Seminoles. So
Mhm.
that's good for them. But that game really showcased the best of what he has to offer. It even had
Mhm.
a strong punt return in it, and it turns out it was a 140-yard game on 9 catches. And as far as like long, college long, his first year at Florida State. Previous to that, he was at Michigan State. But that game, that Syracuse game, was one of 5 games where he had over 100 yards, and it was one of 3 games where he had 9 catches. He had 2 games with 8 catches, but he didn't have consistent production at all. In fact, in 2023, he had more games under 30 yards than he did over 60 yards. So you got to look out for that. I mean, that was five
Mhm.
games under 30, 6 games over 60. So um, it's kind of wild. I don't love a lack of consistency, um, but at the same time, the guy's got 50 catches and 11 touchdowns. It's 50 or 22% TD rate, and 5 of them were in the red zone. 3 of them were just outside the red zone, and then two, like one, or one was 20, or one was 58 yards, and the other was 40 yards. So there are a couple of bombs in there, but like he really hangs his hat on being like a red zone weapon
Mhm.
and using his size to get that advantage, and it worked out really well. But I was kind of confused. Like in 2022, he led the way for Michigan State. Like he led the team in yards and touchdowns and receptions with Jaden Reed on that
Mhm.
team. And he entered the transfer portal on the last day, like the last possible day to do so, and then ended up in Florida State. And there's like an interview where he's talking about, I think he just wanted to be on a team where it was like defined who the pass thrower was going to be, who the quarterback was going to be, and all this. But I thought it was kind of weird. But I wanted to dig into it a little bit, and I looked at some of the Michigan State film, and he was a very solid player and seemed to be like the guy for that team. There was a really nice game against Washington where they're trying to mount a big comeback, and he just got buried with targets in the fourth quarter. Like he was leading the charge. That was another 9 target game for him. It was a good game, and so I can see the potential. I'm going to call him a seeker. Like he's a seeker. He's just looking for clean catch areas because he can't generate it in other ways. But the size is perfect. He does move pretty well for his size, and the hands are great, especially in like congestion, contested catches and being able to high point and all that.
Mhm.
Um, Pretty impressive. But I saw a mock the other day that had him going at 10 to the
Oof.
Jets, And I was like, it killed me, dude. It was I think it was Pro Football Network, which I really liked that site before we I did my own research. I really
Mhm.
liked them as a reliable source, but he only had a 33% contested catch rate. And so, to be that as this thing, that's a low
Yeah.
number for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And only 50 catches, like that's a low number. His receiving grade was 70.6, which was 173rd of guys over 30
Oof.
targets. Like that's not good.
Uh-uh.
Um, and and I definitely don't see the route execution anywhere near an NFL level. And
Mm-mm.
so here's the deal. Like he could go to Baltimore or Buffalo or Kansas City or, even play with Aaron Rodgers at the with the Jets and be wildly successful for sure. Because if you were making a wide receiver that was a red zone monster in a lab, he would probably turn out to look something like this.
Mhm.
But the thing is, those teams have quarterbacks that can extend plays, and that lends into his skills perfectly. His like make shit up at the end of a route to get open and wait for the ball kind of thing. But that's not going to work on every offense at all. And I don't think he has enough history of success to convince me that he is like the fourth wideout in this class. Like
Uh-uh.
obviously the Mount Rushmore of this class is going to be Neighbors, Harrison, Odunze, and then like I don't know. There's a couple of guys, and I haven't even watched film on all these dudes that I would consider to be above him. So I'm
Mhm.
kind of scratching my head. Um, but he's got the body for it, so maybe he can make it work. I don't know. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I think he's a pretty interesting prospect. I think he's a projection or like a traits projection. We get these every single year. And exactly what you're saying. He's uh the size on him is great. He's like that prototypical receiver size. The athleticism is there. Ball skills are fantastic, like you're saying, going up and getting the ball. Um, but then also what you're saying, like the route running's not really there yet. Obviously that's something you can develop in the NFL.
Sure.
But it's not really there. He's kind of a one trick-ish pony. Whereas, he does find the hole and get open, like you're saying, but in terms of route running, it's basically just the same. And I don't know if I'm gonna take a chance on a trait projection in this draft, isn't it gonna be Brian Thomas Jr.?
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, so to me, this is a guy who I'm intrigued on. I'm intrigued to see where he goes. But it's also a guy who finished the season with 6 straight games under 70 yards.
Yeah.
He started off so hot. The game you're talking about, 9 catches for over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns against LSU to start the season, and then he just vanished. And I know um, not in the red zone. He didn't vanish. To your point, he still was scoring touchdowns
Yeah,
in
he ended
those
up with
games.
11 touchdowns.
Yeah, so he's still putting up numbers in the red zone, but in terms of yardage and like consistent production that way, it wasn't really there. And I know you had the emergence of like Johnny Wilson and Trey Benson, and their offense kind of rounded out, and that has something to do with it. But also, like, is he not going to be in a rounded out offense in the NFL? Most likely.
Right.
So, like, I don't know. Like, he doesn't. I don't know. I'm struggling with where to put him as well. Like I think he's definitely behind Troy Franklin. I think he's definitely behind Brian Thomas Jr. And then there's a few other guys that I think would be in an argument for him. But I do think he has all the traits, exactly what you're saying. And honestly, it reminds me of George Pickens a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, where it was a guy that everybody could see why everybody was excited about him. And then it's like, oh, he needs to go to an offense that can take advantage of that. Well, he fucking went to Pittsburgh and it hasn't really gone extremely well. He's had flashes where he's looked great but in terms of fantasy value, he's been okay, like good, but not amazing. So that could be something that worries me with Coleman. The other thing with him is if he comes out and runs like a 4.5,
That's
mm,
on.
yeah, it's
I need something on paper because 658 yards on 50 catches ain't it? You know what I mean?
exactly. His is going to be very, very varied to me. If he comes out and runs like a 4.4, or especially an early 4.4, that's gonna like shoot him up the draft boards. But like those later fours, and
Mm.
I don't know. Again, I think at that point, Brian Thomas Jr., Keon Coleman, they're both kind of the same. I'd lean Brian Thomas Jr. Every single day of the week.
I do like
So
BTJ.
so yeah, I don't know. I'm intrigued. Like he obviously has all the traits that you would want in terms of physical and athletic traits.
Yeah.
Needs
Where
some
there's smoke,
polish.
there's fire sometimes,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, absolutely. If he ends up in the right place, somebody that can take advantage of it, or like you're saying, somebody that can run around and create extra play after the ball where he doesn't have to rely on his own separation skills,
Right.
uh, could be successful. But I think he's a combine and landing spot guy for me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see him in the bracket, like see because it's right now, and this is fun. Like we're looking at these guys in a vacuum, but when we start to put them toe to toe with other players, that I
That's when
think
it gets juicy.
we're gonna see what we really think. But don't let me keep talking.
No, you're good. You're good. I am gonna get into my last guy though, and all right, Dan, you might have to
Okay,
reel me in on this guy.
okay,
I'm not gonna
buddy.
lie to you.
Okay.
I'm doing Jaylin Wright, running back out of Tennessee, and let me tell you, all is right with that tape.
Ooh.
What is going on? I don't understand why this dude's name isn't being talked about more. Like we're talking about how weak this RB class is, and then a guy puts tape like this on the field, and like only PFF has him ranked as the number 2 running back in the class. Everybody else, dynasty leagues, everything I'm seeing, mock drafts, he's not going until the second, late second, early third round. And it's insane to me. The dude's running 7.4 yards per clip. He only had 4 touchdowns, which, that's not great. 0 through the air, also not great. 1,000 yards, but he only had 136 attempts. And dude, the acceleration and quickness of this man is off the charts. Like he just eats up yardage instantaneously. It goes from like, okay, we're starting out this running play to bang, we're 8 yards down the field all of a sudden. And I think this is gonna sound a little complicated. He runs with more power than you think, but not in terms of like he can power through people and get away from people. He doesn't seem to ever go down on the first hit though. Like people can stop him from maybe like getting extra yardage in terms of like big extra yardage. Like he's not going to run through everybody, but you hit him, he still goes forward. He's never like you rarely are going to see this guy fall backwards when he's being tackled. Like the first one is going to stop him maybe, but he's going to kind of move around and start moving forward still and fighting, always fighting this kid. He was so fun to watch to me. I think he has a really interesting ability to like stay always facing forward no matter how he gets hit. Like he'll get popped and then but he's just still like shoulders and head forward, and it helps him kind of stay up and stay upright. Like you are just not taking this dude down if you're not wrapping him up. Like, I promise you, you have to wrap him or he is going to get away from you. And I don't think it's power necessarily, but it's this ability to use what power he has and just the quickness to get away from you. So you have to wrap up. If you're not, he's gone. And he makes these really nice, quick, sharp cuts. And I think he has really good patience. Now, I would say vision wise, he's not like top tier, but he's not bad. He's got sometimes trying to like use that speed to bounce out and maybe not hitting the direct hole where you could get the easy yardage or whatever. But he is a patient runner, and it's fun to watch him kind of use that. And then just like I said, starts on a dime. He had a 55-ish yard run, touchdown run against Kentucky. That was just insane to me.
Oh, that Kentucky game, dude.
Yeah, he bounced out, took a run, avoided a tackle, like an arm tackle, avoided another arm tackle, and then like on the spot where he starts to take off, he's like on the 40-yard line, and it looks like there's like 2 guys pretty close to him, and he just turns on the jets and he's gone and just blows everybody out of the water towards the end zone. Then first play against Georgia, the vaunted Georgia defense. I know they're not quite what they used to be when they were winning two national championships back to back, but first play against Georgia that he gets, house call, touchdown, just took it. Crazy, crazy, crazy to me. I don't understand why he doesn't have more buzz. And Daniel, why is he not in the RB1 conversation for this draft class. Like, reel me in here. I don't like, do I have rose-colored glasses on? Am I missing something? Because I don't get it. I don't get why he's not on the same level as Jonathan Brooks.
Well, I mean, it all comes down to size, right? You see like 5'11", 200 pounds,
Yeah,
or whatever PFF has them at. What
that
do they got?
215. Yeah, we got the weight
215.
range
Yeah,
of
that was
200 to 215, but I mean, Christian
dude.
McCaffrey's 210. Austin Eckler was like under 210. I don't
Uh-huh.
mind under
Uh-huh.
that. Aaron Jones is 208. Like that,
Right,
we
right.
have these guys that can play like that. I don't know, man.
So for me, okay, first of all, yeah, the 7.4 yards per attempt, which was like third best in all of college football for anybody, like after Jaden Daniels, and then a guy out of West Virginia had 7.7, whatever. Good job, you. But we're talking about the Vols, dude. We're talking about Tennessee, we're talking about the SEC, and he's coming out with 7.4. It was beautiful. The thing I think that's holding him back is the way he played and the elusivity that he has. Um, he's like tailor made for a pass catching role that didn't
Mm,
exist for him.
that's
Like
fair.
that's what is missing. When you see a guy with his traits, the open field was outrageous, right? Like great quickness in space, just starts clean, stays clean, breaks off huge gains, knows exactly how to stay at arm's length of guys.
Hmm.
Like that was for me what I liked was his ability to stay untouched, like to run in a way that
Hmm.
just made success the only option. I think he probably has more power than we're giving him credit for. Only having 4 touchdowns this past year kind of lends itself to look like he's not a powerful back, but he did have 10 touchdowns last year in his sophomore year on a comparable number of carries. So he's got that skill set in him. But I really think it's the missing pass catching
Mm.
work for a guy that looks like he should 100% be a badass in the passing game. That's the only thing I could see. But yeah, you're not wrong. That Kentucky game, that shit was wild. I watched that twice because
Hmm.
I was just like you. I was like, man, why aren't we talking more about this guy? This kind of all these running backs are underrated, and they're
I think so
they're
too.
all getting to come up real quick.
I think so too, man. We all offseason, all I've heard is that this running back class sucks. And I think there's like three or four of these guys who I think are legit starters. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
with Brooks Wright, Benson, and I'm blanking on my fourth guy right now. But
I like Ray Davis quite a bit.
Ray Davis is really good. Yeah, he's really good. I like Marshawn Lloyd quite a bit too.
Yeah,
Um,
Bucky
Bucky
Irving, dude. I'm
Irving is
telling you,
is
he's
a
my guy.
versatile piece. Like I think there's going to be a lot of value in this draft in terms of running backs. I still think they're going to go earlier
Oh,
than
for sure.
expected.
We're not
So,
getting out of the first round without 4-5, 4-5, easy.
oh really?
That.
4 or 5 in the first,
Oh yeah. I
huh?
mean, we're in extra innings now. We can talk about it, but just let's just talk about like for the belt. Straight up one
Hmm.
quarterback um, league. You're probably going to get 2 or 3, depending on landing spots on the quarterbacks. You're
Hmm.
definitely getting Bowers. And so then you're left with 9 guys. I see an easy 5 wideouts, and that leaves the door open for 4.
Ish running backs.
Yeah,
That's fair.
because that's the need, man.
I could see that. I mean, a single QB is a bit different for sure, but yeah, I've done too many mocks with the sleeper app. It's got my head all mixed up.
No,
There's
man.
literally not a single running back going in the first, so it's pretty wild to me. But I'm really intrigued by this running back class, and I think Jaylin Wright is going to be a steal for somebody. I'll be interested, really, really interested to see where he goes in terms of the NFL draft. Um, but that is a wrap up for this week. So there is 6 more profiles for you guys. Next week we are going to get into a combine review. Basically, we're going to highlight the combine, but we're still doing profiles, correct? Just of
Yeah,
guys.
I think you had thrown out like some guys that turn heads that might not have made our bracket, and we're gonna take
Yeah.
a look at them.
Yeah, there we go. So that'll be fun. Like, highlight some guys that aren't going to be on the bracket while we put out the bracket, and you guys prepare and kind of use that to track who you might want to draft in your rookie draft this year. So join us next week for some more profiles, some combine wrap up, and we are heating up on the off season, guys. We're getting close to that bracket, so please start joining us and hang out with us. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
You know what to do.
I took a Lisa on your